All right, so today we are doing a strength session. There's no Metcon today. It's purely strength, and it's a 24-minute EMOM of power snatches on minute 1, and then minute 2 is back squats, and then minute 3 is rest. I might swap my shoes around kind of based off of what I think is comparable to the Flux Adapt Graphene XTs. I think they're a minimal cross-training shoe, borderline barefoot, but not quite. They do have that midsole, so I'm gonna like go between things that I think are similar, like the Born Primitive Savage 1s, probably Nano 2s, Velites, Strike Movement Haze, which are probably the most maximal, I guess, out of all of them. But we'll just see how I feel and see how this thing goes. I'm pretty much already warmed up, so I'm just gonna get things going. Okay, that set felt pretty difficult. I don't know if it was the shoes. I doubt it was, but I just overall, I didn't eat enough carbs yet, but that squat was heavy. It's only 275. Definitely has to do with me not weighing as much. First 3 snatches felt pretty good. I prefer having something more substantial underfoot. A lot of these training shoes nowadays have pretty substantial outsoles and midsoles, but they don't feel like they detract from power delivery. Okay, first variant up is going to be the Velites Hybrid 1.0, and like these are a 3mm drop. They're still very minimal, but immediately you can tell that there's a lot more to them than the Flux. I gotta be honest with you, like I prefer that these have more underfoot than the Flux. They just feel way more sturdy on the ground. Whoa. Had a lot on that. That was good. So yeah, like I think having more underfoot, honestly, it helps. It helps you. There's more ground contact. There's more, in these shoes, there's more grip. They're still plenty wide. And then landings are just that much more stable because the outsole and midsole are more substantial. Not like you can't snatch or ollie in the Flux, but like the extra flexibility, it's just, yeah, for certain things it's good, but for certain things it's not so good. So you have to kind of like pick and choose. And the squats felt better on that. I want to say that's probably from me being a little bit more warm, but also the Flux they're pretty soft underfoot. Like the Adapt sole plus the midsole that they do have, even though it's minimal, it's still pretty soft. Whereas on the Velites, I don't know if they changed the insole on these, but they feel a lot better than they used to be. But just these feel more solid against the ground. Okay, so next up is the Nano 2. This is a shoe that a lot of shoes like to reference, and I gotta be honest with you, I think it's mainly because this is a lot of people, a lot of old OGs first CrossFit shoe. It definitely was mine, and you know, every time I wear it, I get the nostalgia from it, even though these aren't like a one-on-one recreation of the OGs. These are the ones that you can get. I actually still have the OGs, but I'm not gonna wear them because they're not the ones you can get. So the first thing that I noticed with these versus the last two shoes is that the heel feels like elevated on these. It's weird. Okay, easily the best set. If you need a really wide toe box, these are still really, really wide. But the heel feels the most stable out of all the ones that we've been taking a look at today. But the Velites feel more stable throughout the shoe, whereas the forefoot on the Nano 2s feels flexible. Okay, squats are no problem. Heel stability on these is, good for what it's worth. And I think they just have the right amount of structure through the midfoot and the right amount of flexibility, where the Velites feel a little bit more stiff through the forefoot and the mid, and then the Flux are just flexible all the way through. Okay, so next up we have the Born Primitive Savage 1s, which I know they referenced the Nano 2s when building these shoes. But wearing them back to back, even like with the normal ones, like the new Nano 2s are a little bit softer than the old ones are, but the new ones these still feel more rigid than the older Nano 2s, which in today's world is not necessarily a bad thing because people are lifting way heavier than the days of Nano 2. But of all the shoes that we've already looked at, these are for sure the most substantial underfoot feeling. They still have a 4mm drop, they're fairly light, and they're still flexible for, like by today's standards and compared to a lot of shoes out there. Those ones felt the most unresponsive. Like a little bit, like my timing got thrown off by doing that set. And it's probably just because, you know, there's just that little bit extra stiffness to the born primitives in comparison to the other ones. These are a brand new pair of born primitives. Never worked out in them. So they're a little bit not broken in yet. It's good. Now these feel like there's less foot motion compared to the other ones. Still plenty responsive. I don't think anyone's gonna complain about squatting in these. Surprisingly, even though they're both 4mm drops between this and the Nano 2, these feel like there's less of a drop. Like the Nano 2s oddly felt like the heel was pretty high on those. It was weird. So now we're on Strike Haze, and this is kind of unfair because these are like the best shoes. Still one of the best shoes out there. They have all the ground field and structure that you need. They're still very stable. They're super responsive. They're still fairly lightweight. They're very flexible. Like these really do everything well. The only thing that anyone ever complains about is that the durability is, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some people have a pair that they've never had durability issues with. Some people's falls apart in like a month. So tough to say. I haven't had any durability issues with mine, but it's hard to argue the masses. I think another thing that people don't like about the Strike Haze is it kind of feels like there's a hump under the arch area of these shoes, which I don't particularly like. It doesn't bother me, but it does kind of have this like raised heel effect, similar to Nano 2, but it's only like in that area, and the rest of the heel kind of like flattens out, so it's really weird. But still, if you wanted to do all pair of shoes, Strike Haze, still amazing. Okay, so last up, we're going back to the Flux. I thought about doing the Innovates, the F lights, because there's a 4mm drop. They're still pretty minimal, but they're fairly soft, and like they're just way more soft than any of the other shoes here. They still are pretty minimal, and they're probably my favorite ones out of all the shoes that we talked about today. But I don't think it's like it's not a good comparison. It's as good a comparison as the other shoes. Let's say that. Probably just got a lot brighter. I had to open up the garage because I'm waiting for delivery on something. Okay, last set of squats. That snatch set felt okay. I don't think it was the best one, but I also don't think it was as bad as the first set was. I did miss one. That wasn't good, but it definitely wasn't the shoes on that one. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I like squatting in these. They're soft. And it like doesn't respond that well. Like it's you think they would. You think that they would respond very well because there's not a lot of midsole. But it just feels like the adapt sole plus the midsole, like you're like just push and you don't get as much out of it as even some of the ones that have more midsole and an insole. Some of those shoes, basically every other shoe, felt better to squat in than these, which is really weird because typically I prefer the flatter shoe for squats. All my PRs have been in flat shoes, zero drop, barefoot shoes. And yeah, I'm not so sure about these. Huh, weird.